We have been trying to conceive for 14 cycles. We had to skip this past cycle. My husband had to get another semen analysis, and it was right on that week that I was fertile. So I have my husband's urology report. His volume was 3.3, which is normal. Count per cc was 235 million. Active was 57 million. Inactive 178 million. His total count was 776 million. Motility was 24%. Total motile count 186 million. Forward progression was poor. Morphology normal was 30%. Morphology abnormal 70%. Motility was worse this time around, which the urologist was kind of confused about why it would have decreased. And he asked if my husband had had a fever in the last 90 days, and he did get sick and had a fever, so that could have skewed the results. But the urologist, I actually was able to go to the appointment, and the urologist said, because I asked, he said that based off of his results, it would not cause infertility from his opinion. But he's not a specialist. The urologist had requested that he get blood work done, so he got his FSH, maybe estrogen, I don't know. There was like 3 different types of blood work that the doctor requested, and we still haven't got those results back. I'm sure they're already up, but my husband needs to call them probably Monday, tomorrow, and get those results. And then that was basically all that the urologist said. There's usually a vein that can be enlarged that can cause infertility, and my husband doesn't have that. Everything physically looked and felt fine and normal. So that makes no sense. And I have had the HSG test, which came back normal, sonogram, ultrasound. All of my fallopian tubes are open and normal, and I don't have any blockages or polyps or cysts or anything on my anatomy that would cause infertility. I am having regular periods. My LH test strips are always positive every single month around the same time. That does not mean that you're ovulating, but based off of my periods and hormones that I've had tested, my doctor thinks that I'm ovulating regularly. So right now it's unexplained infertility, which basically just means they're not really sure what the cause is, or it's not the most common occurring causes that can cause infertility. So that leaves us with my last appointment that I had was this week, and it was kind of a hard appointment. I do appreciate this doctor just because she does kind of preface what the next steps are and what that's going to look like. So I knew this appointment was coming, but I didn't really expect to hear what I had heard. She, prior to this appointment, had said that she thinks the next step would be to do a round of Clomid or letrozole or Femara, which is, I think, the generic brand name of letrozole. And so this appointment, I went, and it was a very short appointment. She said that based off of where we're at now, she's done all the testing she can do. Nothing has came up, so she thinks we will do a single round of letrozole to just increase my ovulation. So basically, from my understanding, letrozole just helps develop the eggs and make you more likely to have better egg quality. She said, based off of my husband's semen analysis results, she does not believe that letrozole is going to be the answer for us. So she'll do 1 round, and then my next appointment is March 9th of 2023. And that appointment is literally just to see, hey, are you pregnant or not? And then she said she'll be referring me to a fertility specialist. And you're supposed to take letrozole cycles day 3 through 7. I'm currently on cycle day 3, and I do not have my letrozole. I had my appointment on Thursday, and I thought I started my cycle that day, but actually it was just spotting, and I actually started Friday, and today is Sunday, so I'm on cycle day 3. And she was supposed to send the prescription to my pharmacy on Thursday after I left, and I left like around 3:30 or so. So I figured, okay, well, maybe it's just later or she'll do it the next day. Well, the clinic closes early on Friday or is closed completely. I don't know, but I did call around like 9:30 on Friday morning just to check in because I hadn't received any notification that I had gotten a prescription that needed to be picked up or anything through my pharmacy. And I spoke with the nurse who said that the doctor is actually gone, of course, and that she'll send an emergency message to the doctor who then can fill a prescription at home or like send it in to my doctor so I can fill it. Well, Friday came and went, and I sent in our patient portal, we're able to send an email. Sent the email saying, hey, it was like around 2:30. I said, hey, I'm really concerned about this. I'm supposed to start on cycle day 3, and cycle day 3 is on a Sunday. You guys are closed on a Sunday. So I am now on cycle day 3, and I have not received my medication. I'm supposed to start today. So all weekend I have felt pretty down about it and just down in general because even if I start the medication based off of what she said, it's not going to help anyways. So that was a lot to take in, and I had to tell my husband that, and so he's been feeling pretty down about it too because now he's saying, well, I'm the problem, and I'm like, well, we don't know that. There's still other options that could be happening that could cause infertility. I could have something like endometriosis. My grandma had endometriosis pretty severely, and that wouldn't come up on a sonogram, ultrasound, or an HSG. So I might have scarring or something going on that we just can't see. So we are moving on, and I'm going to call on Monday morning, and I'm hoping that she'll still allow me to get the medication on Monday and just start it on cycle day 4 and just do it through cycle day 4 through 8 instead of 3 through 7. I think she will, but it's just frustrating that I didn't receive the medication in time. Frustrating that it probably won't help anyways, and I think I started to get hope that, oh, that's the problem. I'm just not ovulating right. But based off of his semen analysis results, she said she just doesn't think that it's going to help because I'm currently ovulating, and adding a little bit more or helping my ovulation isn't going to help the sperm move forward correctly. That leaves us with a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of disappointment, a lot of sadness, a lot of what ifs. Unfortunately, in the United States, infertility is not covered by the vast majority of health insurance companies. My company that I get my insurance through my job does not cover infertility at all. I don't know if the appointment will be covered if I go to the fertility specialist, if the appointment itself will be covered, and just the fertility treatments won't be. I got my progesterone blood work done, and my insurance covers preventative blood work done and diagnostic blood work, but my progesterone was not covered, so I got a bill for almost $200 just to get my progesterone done. So that's very frustrating. So I need to call my insurance and figure out why. And I have a feeling that's going to start happening very often the more work we do, because now infertility is the first thing as diagnosis. So my insurance is not going to cover treatments or anything else related to that, from my understanding. I don't want to jump the gun and think that I need IUI or IVF to get pregnant, but it's looking more and more like those are going to be the only options we have. But I don't know, because we don't know why we can't get pregnant. We don't know what the cause is, so I don't know what the treatment is. I know that IVF has a greater outcome for people with unexplained infertility, and it's a pretty good treatment for people with unexplained fertility. The problem with that, because I would be 100% willing to go through that emotional, physical, horrible experience, really, the problem is finances, and it's extremely expensive to do IVF. So I have a couple of options. I can apply for grants that may or may not be approved to cover some, a little bit, all of it, don't know. I can try to go into medical debt and get credit cards or a loan from my bank to pay for IVF, or I can go get a part-time job at a place like Starbucks that does cover infertility treatments. And I'm already a full-time social worker, so that would be hard. There's another option of moving to a state that does require the state itself requires every place to cover infertility in healthcare. So that's another option. And then another option is just continuing to try and then moving on with taking a break from the possibility of having kids or moving into adoption or fostering children. I am 26. My husband's 27. We've been together since I was 13. And I never imagined not being able to have a family. I'm at the point now where I want a family. I crave a family. I instinctively want to be pregnant and experience pregnancy and have a family biologically, but if that's not in the cards for us, that's a loss and a grief that I need to process and grieve through, and will probably grieve through the rest of my life, even if we were to foster or adopt. And it's just really difficult and unfair, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it who don't have the resources to have a family. So it's one thing to be infertile or go through infertility and then be able to afford IVF and it not even be in the question. Like, oh, it's a financial burden, but these people have money to do it and it not being a problem. And then there's another thing where there's people like me who find out that we are struggling with infertility and we don't have the financial means to just easily pay 20 grand to have a child. And that's a lot to process too, because that just sets a whole other aspect to infertility that some people never have to experience. It's one thing to go through infertility, but then to know that you may or may not ever be able to afford it is another thing. So I hope people who have had the privilege of having IVF or knowing they can financially afford something if infertility comes up, that they understand that and that they recognize and appreciate that aspect, because I could not have prepared myself at 26 years old for going through IVF. There are options, but it just feels next to impossible. However, I have not gone to the fertility clinic and I have not had an estimate of how much it would cost. Honestly, I feel like that's going to be a very difficult appointment if I do go to the clinic and if I do just pay out of pocket for the appointment and just to have them tell me what is it going to take for us to have kids based off of what we've done, what testing would we need to have further before we can go to IVF, what do we need to do, and how much is it going to cost. And I feel like it's going to be a very sad appointment because it's going to put into perspective the fact that we can't afford it. And so it won't matter if it would work or wouldn't work. It's not even going to be an option for us, which is really, really hard to take in. So that's where I'm at right now with fertility and trying to conceive, having a family. And I've had a really heavy heart from it, especially with seeing so many people have babies or getting pregnant right now in my personal and elsewhere life. I mean, so many YouTubers are announcing their pregnancy or have children who went through IVF or who had children very easily. And so many people in my personal life have had children very easily and got pregnant very quickly with no problems. And I can't help but wonder why us. And I hate that feeling, but I'm going to sit with it and I'm going to process it and I'm going to deal with it and then move on, because that's all that I can do. So if you have any advice or if you've gone through infertility or IVF and you have figured out a miraculous way to pay for it that I may not know about, please let me know in the comments below. I have been looking for grants. I live in Kansas, so there's not a lot out here. But if there is, and if you have any resources or information that maybe I need to look into, please let me know. And if you don't want to comment it, I do have my Instagram that you can always DM me on and connect with me, please. So, yeah, I guess that's where I'm going to leave this video off. There's no other information. That's basically everything that I have to say. Yeah, I feel pretty down about it right now, but that's normal, and I'm gonna continue to work through that and hope that we get pregnant naturally through this process. And I'm just gonna hold a little bit of hope, even though that is really difficult to do right now because I've held hope for 14 cycles and nothing has happened yet. I will leave it at that. So thank you guys so much for watching. May all your stars align, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.